Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Marla Billinghurst. I'll be chairing the meeting this morning. To my left is Ms. Cynthia Stevens, and to my far left is Mr. Ron Stenning. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that applicants or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemption from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. The first matter we will be hearing this morning is 0 Maryland Avenue, or Maryland Street, sorry.
Are you sworn in or affirmed? Can you state your full name, please?
Ryan Boardroom.
Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you state your full name, please? Do you affirm that the evidence you're about to give at this hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First property in the docket has a file number of 19-4493. Has a roll number of 13050101500, and it is located on Maryland Street. We're dealing with the roll year of 2020 using reference date of April 1st, 2018. The assessed value for the property is $225,000. It is a vacant residential 2 with the zoning of RMFM, or residential multi-family medium. It has a land area of 7,376 square feet. On page 3 is the aerial photo of the subject property. And it is, as per the photos, it is being used as a parking lot by 606, by that property with the 606. And at the bottom of page 3 is the map of the subject property, where it is located. On page 4 are some land sale comparables. There are 3. They're all ranging from $26.90 to $66.07 per square foot. And at the bottom of page 4 is the map of this there must be an error or typo, map of the subject property in comparison to the land sale comparables. And on page 5 is the zoning. On page 6 is some calculations. It has a net area of 7,376 square feet and a net rate of $30.50 per square foot, giving it a total land value of $225,000. And that's my presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, do you have questions for the assessor?
I was just looking at the map and, I guess it was meant to be printed in color.
Yeah, it was just
So, the one at the bottom is 100 Maryland, I take it? I just wanna, figure out which.
yeah, it looks like it is 100 Maryland.
Yeah, okay, and then beside the subject is, or close is 444 Sherbrooke,
That's correct.
and then further north is Balmoral.
That's
Okay.
correct.
And, sorry, okay, and you have a street address of 453 Maryland on the subject then. I see that. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to figure this out. What was your rate per square foot for the subject?
On page 6, it's $30.50
Oh.
per square foot.
Okay, sorry, 30?
$30.50 per square foot.
And the ones you ended up relying on, what were these, have these been developed?
I'm not sure if they are developed already or still sitting as a vacant land.
Okay, those are my questions, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning, any questions?
No, not at this time, thank you.
Ms.
you.
Stevens?
I'm having a little trouble figuring out what exactly is going on here. So what, do you know what this parking lot is used for?
No, page 3, ma'am?
Yeah, so do you know, is it commercial, is it residential parking, is it?
No, there's no, it's not a paid parking. It's being used or owned at the same time by the 606, by this commercial.
Oh, it's, okay,
property.
so, okay, so you mentioned, okay, so that's what the parking is for, all right. Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
Thank you.
There are no questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Neufeld?
I guess the subject is an interior lot access off the back lane, which is, I guess, to be expected in this part of our city. We have several sales on page 2, and what we did is we ended up looking at the average rate rather than, and showing you how we did our calculation. I think our strongest comparable is number 3, which is 481 Maryland, and you can see the picture that shows the subject, and then right on the other side of Ellis is a similarly located lot. I got it. Basically the office of the subject, and that sold at $17.08 per square foot. And that's our strongest comparable rate, and exactly the same physical issues as the subject. Although the one that sold was a single lot and ours is a double lot. And economy of scale is not a factor. However, we did look at the other sales as well, and we do acknowledge that 444 Sherbrooke sold for a bit more, although Sherbrooke's a busier commercial thoroughfare. But that was the highest one in the general area that we had. And I note that the assessor did have a sale from the other side of Portage in the Wolseley area. We don't think that's appropriate. So we're just looking for the average of them, with the strongest sale being 481 Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boardroom, do you have questions?
Just a quick one, Madam Chair. Looking at the areas of the sale on page 2, would there be a trend if it's a bigger area? It looks like the per square foot rate is increasing, particularly if I'm looking at 585 William at 6,565. It has a rate of $22.54. Sherbrooke, 444 Sherbrooke, it has a bigger area at 4,000 at $34 a square foot. And compared to the 481 Maryland, would that be a good observation?
No, I think that these sales, like the smallest one produced a higher rate at 29.45, but that was the one in Beverly. And, that's 3,000 feet. The largest one at 6,500 square feet was pretty much what we were looking at for the subject, at 22.54, and we're at 22.38. My assumption here is that you can have double lots and single lots, and the single lots are probably gonna be redeveloped with a single family or housing, or possibly a two family, whereas some of the double lots may have interest as multifamily. The dynamics of the sales would affect the prices more than anything, and when you move from single family to multifamily, you're looking at a number of permissible units and a cost associated with that. I think that's the factor. I don't see an economy of scale here.
No, okay. So in terms of developing a multifamily, would a larger lot be more valuable, putting in more units compared to a smaller lot?
Well, the subject is RMFM, and so that's 800 square feet per unit. So it's going to allow 9 units as a maximum permissible use. We have 3 other RMFMs in here, and they range from 1598 to 3427, and so there's nothing on a per square foot basis. You have 2 lower ones and 1 higher one. That's nature of the market. The high one is one you quoted in Sherbrooke, and then we have the one on the same street at Maryland, and then also one, there's no address listed here, the last one, that are lower than that. So I think it's more a question on their motivation, and if he's got a project in mind.
That's all the questions I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stenick?
I have no questions.
Ms. Stevens?
Just to clarify, you said that the subject property only has access from the back lane?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no ingress at all off of Maryland?
No.
Or Ellis, okay.
And I'm safe to say none would ever be granted.
Okay. That's all I have, thank you.
I have no questions either. Thank you very much. Okay, next matter, 835 Sterling Lion Parkway. Please proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next property has a file number 19-4374, roll number of 1000677595. It is located at 835 Sterling Lion Parkway. We're dealing with the roll year of 2020. Using reference date of April 1st, 2018, the assessed value for the property is $1,602,000. It is a vacant residential 2 with the zoning of residential mixed use. It has a land area of 99,828 square feet. On page 2, I'd like to raise a correction on that one. It looks like it's an error in the number, but the land value is $1,602,000. And all the other preceding pages would pertain to $1,602,000. On page 3 is the aerial photo of the subject property. There seems to be a development based on the aerial photo. And at the bottom is the map of the subject property. On page 4, are some land sale comparables. There are 3 land sales that are included here. They're all ranging from $19.51 to $19.54, and they are within the subject properties neighborhood. On page 5 is the zoning, which is residential mixed use, and the description of it. On page 6 is the calculation. The net rate per square foot is $16.05, with a net area of 99,828 square feet. The land value is at $1,602,000. And that's my presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, any questions?
Yes. On page 3, this is a aerial photograph of the subject.
Yes,
And
835.
there's an apartment under construction on it.
It looks like an apartment, yes.
Do you have any information on when that permit was taken out and construction started?
I don't have that information with me. I don't have that information.
When was this picture taken, do you know?
On our file, I believe this is a 2018 file. I'm not sure, but I just saw it and then just.
I guess the reason I'm asking, if there's gonna be a supplemental on this for the construction of the building, we're just wasting our time here today, so I was wondering if you had any information on it.
None at the moment. I did bring the permit and other information regarding that.
The 3 sales you have listed on page 4, are these all from the same party, to the same party?
I did get to review the vendors and the sellers for the sales, the land sales.
Well, I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, because they're all coming in at 850,000 an acre, within pennies of each other on per square foot. And they're consecutive numbers on the same side of the street, and I'm familiar with the area, that there's several large developers who are purchasing acreages and developing in turn. So you don't know who the purchaser was?
No, I don't. I have no information with me.
Okay, and this I need a bit more help on here. So the chart below, the map below, the subject property is the dot all the way to the left side of the map?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then the other 3 are, I take it, the 3 most westerly markers?
Easterly, right? On these ones.
Westerly?
West,
Sorry, the
East
subject and the comparables are the 4 most westerly dots, because there's
Yeah,
like
one, two.
several dots here.
yes, so this one is the subject, and then the comparables are here, somewhere here.
You
In
don't
the
have-
middle, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, okay. So I'm aware that some of these are age-restricted properties or independent living facilities. Do you know which ones are which?
No, I don't, and I'm not sure if they are really age restricted.
Well, there's I forgot the euphemism they used for it today, but one of these sites is definitely an independent living facility, correct?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Okay. And they're located on the periphery of the shopping center?
Yes, they are.
And what sort of configuration do they have?
I'm not sure what the.
Well, the
you mean,
subject is a triangle, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the other parcels, are they more traditional rectangular properties?
No, I'm not, I don't have that information, no, I don't.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at your, actually, with my information on the aerial, I guess, on your page 3, the aerial photograph, there's two multifamily units. Okay, one's 825. Okay, so those aren't the subject property, your sales at all. The number immediately east of it on page 3.
Mhm.
Those are my questions, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning?
Your comparables, you were using 3 properties pretty well all in the same area, would that be correct?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
And your comparables are all in the $19 square foot?
$19.50 around there,
Yeah.
per square foot. Yes,
So
that's
any reason that you went at a lower figure?
in terms of the assessment.
Huh?
In terms of the assessment,
Yeah, what was it
It's,
you were looking, what were you going per square foot?
it's $16.05 per square foot, and that's a model-driven rate, sir.
Where did you show that? I remember
Oh, on page 6,
page 6.
and the second,
Oh, yeah, right,
Or
down, like,
spreadsheet.
it's 1605.
that's correct, sir.
But, well, and it, you probably said it, but if the model driven is 1605 and yet you're giving comparables of higher rates.
Mhm. So, that only means that something is factored in why it's lowered.
Do you know what that factor is?
Not really 100% sure, but looking at the property and how it's configured, it looks like the shape of it plays a factor in it.
Okay.
Neighborhood wouldn't, because it's within the same neighborhood, so. Yeah, and,
Alright.
I think that's just all that I can think of or I can observe.
That's all I need, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Stevens?
Yeah, I had a similar question, I'm just, is that a rail line that's running there?
There is a land influence on page 4, which says heavy traffic and rail.
And rail,
alignment.
yeah,
Yes,
okay.
that's correct.
That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, the next matter, there's no address.
Sorry, I was,
15%.
Oh.
Evident. Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I jumped.
as long as it wasn't one of those Freudian slips.
That was on me, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Newbeck. We're
Um,
looking forward to hearing your evidence.
There is construction going on, and I'm sorry, I didn't research the date of completion, so I imagine there will be a supplemental. My guess is that this particular assessment will be in effect for only a short time at the most. Our concerns with it were the configuration and proximity to the rail lines, which is I was trying to find out where the assessors were located, comparables, and I fortunately stalled enough to look them up on the website. And don't tell Mr. Hutchins I was using my phone. But the assessors' comparables are located in from the rail line and in closer proximity to the roadway and beside the shopping center that's there. So they don't have the same rail location. So I guess our issue is that we do have the most inferior lot in this, this is the old CN intermodal yards, and that was converted to shopping and multifamily. So this is the most inferior lot. And as such, we were looking for a slightly lower value than the assessor has. On page 2, we had a number of sales and ranging from 755 to 2133. They're all RMF zoned. Now, I noticed in here that there are 2 sales that were zoned agricultural, And at time of sale, that was the zoning in place, but the future use, these are both governed, well, Cabro is governed by the Waverly West development, so it was approved in 2008, and so the issue of that it's still zoned A today, this site will be is in the B precinct, not B, it's not precinct B plan area of the Waverly West development, and most of the uses in the B district are going to be institutional. Although this one would be located a bit closer to Waverly. And my understanding is that the Bison is in the same general area, but this would be on the edge of the A zoning in Waverly West. It's well known that the city had instituted with the province and the two private developers, the development of Waverly West. So there's no doubt that they're going to be zoned, and services, to my mind, had already been dealt with. So I think these are ready, but they are at the lower end of the range. So just for sake of argument, we're not going to be relying on them. As well, there's one at 3280 Pembina, and this is I believe that this is a site that's impacted by the Red River and was purchased for development for meeting the requirements of the zoning for development density on another unit, so I wouldn't rely on that either. So without those three in there, our range is 1105 to 2133. So I think the average is probably a touch higher than this, probably about 1450 per square foot. I haven't done the math. I think it's just a little bit lower than what the assessor has at $16. I can redo the math if you want, or just go with my best estimate, which is actually 1450 a square foot. I didn't prepare these sales, and I think the responsibility is, as I'm here presenting, and is that I don't want to rely on sales that I know better. So I actually am at 631, 620 an acre, which is a value of 1,452,726, down to 1,453,000.
Excuse me, interrupt, and what are you using per square foot?
1450.
Oh, you're using 450.
And that's, I think, like I said, the assessors use better sites, and I see that it has adjusted downwards from them. I think it's a little shy on what it should be, because it's not just the triangular shaping, it's the proximity of the rail line. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's try this again. Mr. Boardroom, do you have questions?
Just one question on page 2 on the comparables. Would the McDelivery one be the closest?
Pardon me?
The McDelivery index 5 or comparable 5? Would that be
No,
the
that's
that's farther west.
no, that's that's a site that's between Dover Court and Linden Ridge, and it was square rectangular site that's being developed for multifamily right now. It's a better location in terms of access, and it's got more of a residential feel to it. And there's a keg right next door, which is always a good thing, I think.
That's all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning?
Basically, the city are using comparables right at Sterling Lion. You have nothing on Sterling Lion at all.
That's correct. The Sterling Lion sales, all the intermodal sales, kind of flowed from the east to the west and decreased in value as they went along. So this is the most westerly and the lowest valued site. The ones on Caniston sold between 1.1 and 1.3 million per acre, and that's where the car dealer, the hotel, and then as you continue to move westward, the prices dropped, and so the frontage lots for the shopping center were in at about 900 an acre, and then you continue westward, and then you have the first set of blocks that are on the shopping center, and I think the assessor has got those numbers correct. I don't disagree with them. They're around 800 an acre, and then at the pointy end, we have this piece of land, which is it's sort of like when you're subdividing the property and you're making all the nice lots and making sure everybody's got a nice setup. You get at the end and you go, whoa, what do we do with this one? And it's just there. There's nothing you can do with it. And I think it's going to be named The Point as well, which is just let's deal with it. You see, it's got an even little following the property line, a pointy end on it. It was just a remnant piece, the last one, and as such would be at the lowest end of the scale. And I don't disagree with his numbers. I just think, and I said earlier, the assessor has brought it down from his other sales, so that I respect that they had done that. I think it should be just a bit lower because we were also shoved up against the rail.
Another minor question, what was my other question? Now you're talking, I've kind of lost track of that.
That was my goal. It's
I know,
you forget
Rocky,
your
I'm
next
well
line.
aware of your tactics, I do know that. Well, maybe you carry on with your question, I'll come.
Okay, I just, you mentioned when the McGilvery property and your comps was, you mentioned keg being there, but I'm looking at some of these and I'm just maybe not quite the amenities right up next to them that the subject would have.
Well, yeah, there's that, but I think also it's the zoning. Like, for example, one of our higher sales was RMFS sale, 2133. So with S, it's zoning is the opposite of what it states. S means that yields are less per acre, which means that it's going to be a larger unit. It's 1,200 units per acre, and I believe that this is actually, I own a condo on this land right now. So if it's for a different type of development, and there's more instant repayment on a condo investment than an apartment. The other one on McGilvery is, you can see, is RMFL, and there's also one at Bridge Lake RMFL, and those are 400 square feet per unit, so it's a denser development. When I was quickly scanning through it, I was just looking at RMFM, and you can see that I wasn't really plucking the 1450 out of the air. It was, if you look at all the RMFMs, you have 1435, 1436, 1708, 1379, 1514, and 1497. So generally, wherever you're located, developers buying land will look at is permissible density, and there'll be some similarities. I've been appraising land for development up off La Jamoye, north of Nairn, And the land is hitting the same numbers as here, because it's all about permissible density, and that's how all the values go.
Okay, all right, that's all I have, thank you.
I think my questions were answered. Okay, perfect. Okay. Now we can move on. So the next one does not have an address? Just the land? All right. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next property has a file number of 19-4428. It has a roll number 0400212850. We're dealing with a roll year of 2020, using reference date of April 1st, 2018. The assessed value is $453,000. It is a vacant residential 2 with the zoning of residential multifamily, or RMFS. And on page 2 are some sales of the subject property. Back in 2013, it was sold for $500,000. And on page 3 is the aerial photo of the subject property. And at the bottom is the map of the subject property. On page 4 are some land sale comparables. And they are all ranging from $40.18 up to $15.05 per square foot. On page 5, again, is the zoning of the subject property. It's RMFS. And on page 6 is the calculation of the land assessment. It has a net rate of $12.49 per square foot and a net area of 36,280 square feet, giving it a land value of $453,000. That's my presentation, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Neufeld, with questions.
Did you investigate the sale? Were you aware that it's sold with 1745 Henderson?
Does it indicate that? No, it doesn't.
Okay, well, that's on your page 3, that apartment block.
Yeah,
Okay. And-
1745, you said,
Oh, sorry,
Anderson, or?
1745, that's correct.
No. It's in our record, it says that it's sold on its own for $500,000.
Oh, I see. And, you have a picture on page 5 of the subject, and it didn't come through in color. And it does differ from the one I have. Are you showing that there's an access off Henderson?
Looks like there's some right-of-way, kind of an access towards Henderson. However, if we look at page 3, there seems to be none, so.
Right. That's- Right, page 3, as a matter of fact, shows that drawing, there's parking on it, and the building itself extends, appears to be about 10 feet from the lot line,
Yes.
or less. And, so where is access for this site? Do you have in your records what that might be?
No, if you're looking at page 5, I'm not sure if it is really an access towards Henderson Highway. It looks like it is part of it. The access clearly is at the back lane.
The back lane. And as a back lane property, would the city, to your knowledge, allow development?
I don't know, I'm not sure.
Well, you're aware of the bylaw, which says that you must have access in order to develop your site, legal access from a city street.
Good, yeah, I would just take that.
Yeah, okay, well,
I'm not sure, I don't have the, that information with me.
And
If
your
there is such a bylaw.
your comparables on page 4, these have all have or will be developed in multifamily properties?
They're all zoned as multifamily. So if there's any development, it may have to be in line with the multifamily zoning.
Right.
I'm not sure if there is currently.
And were you aware of the recommendation that one of your colleagues made 2 years ago, considering it's landlocked?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Those are my questions, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stemming,
I have no questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Stevens.
So if you look at your comps, this is coming in lower, and is that, the model is taking the landlocked into account?
I'm thinking it is. It looks like it is taking into account the feature of being landlocked. Yeah, it's way lower than the comps.
Okay, that's all I had, thanks.
Thank you.
You don't know anything about the sale in 2013?
Well, as per the department's analysis, it looks like it's a bona fide sale, and the seller and the buyers are not related to each other.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Mr. Neufeld.
Thank you. So this property is part of the land associated with 1745 Henderson, and on our front page, the picture shows 1745 is a high-rise. So this was land at the rear of this property, and 1745 Henderson, I believe that the issue there is this, yes, this is RMFS. So that means that the zoning requires 1,200 square feet per unit. And there are 110 units on 1745 Henderson on 1.6 acres. So in order to meet the density bylaw of RMFS, this land to the rear was required to match that density. And can I borrow a calculator and give you the actual numbers? So the requirement, the zoning requirement
Pardon me.
is 132,000 square feet. The parent parcel at 1745 Henderson is 69,696, we'll call it 70,000. And then the subject is 36,000. So that was the original requirement for this lot, was to meet the bulk zoning regulation RMFS. And it's owned by the same party, purchased at the same time, and the value put on it was an allocation. And as of this date, without a change in the zoning designation, there's not going to be any permissible development. As well, if there were a development, it would have to be title merged with 1745 Henderson to take advantage of the access that property has, because legal access can't be granted off a public lane. So there's too many ifs in this equation, and as a result, it's until like, you can't appraise a property on the basis of what might happen. You can only appraise it on what can happen, and what can happen today is nothing. It's landlocked. You know, last year, when we brought this to hearing, the assessor made us an offer, and it's still higher than what we're asking for this year, but this is residential zone land, so the tax load isn't excessive. What we were looking at though for sales on page 2, this was a job we took on for interesting, it was a job I did for an expropriation on landlocked lands in the city of Winnipeg. And we had some great data that we reviewed as a result of it. And you can see that the ones they're undevelopable pieces of land. That's what we're focusing on. And they are a mix of industrial and residential lands, and some are sworn values. For example, page 3, the sliver of land on the river was actually purchased. I think it was the city purchased this as part of their riverbank strategy to own the riverbank, but it is landlocked and undevelopable, and the price on it was 81 cents a foot. Page 5 are probably more pertinent sales. These are in the northern boundary of Waverly West. These lands were surveyed in about 1908 and set up in this manner. That's why they all have lots, and they sold as a series of lots to the developer. And on page 2, you can see that they're all in the $1.54 a square foot category. Some of these, I believe that Hydro had possession of these lands for a transmission line as well. Now, the concept for Waverly West was that the properties to the immediate south of this were to have geothermal heating, and the developer sought control of these lands to put in horizontal geothermal lines into this. And that didn't prove, the market wasn't the least bit interested in that, so I don't even know how many of them had geothermal. But the lands are landlocked, and there is a tower you can see on the lands immediately south of it. That's where the transmission towers were. And but they're landlocked at $1.54, and I think those are our best comparisons. And $1.50 on this site brings us to $54,000. That's
Okay, thank you. Mr. Boardroom, would you have questions for Mr. Nichols?
Yes, just a couple, Madam Chair. On page 2, just looking at these 41 sales, setting aside the feature of landlocked, which is common to the subject property and to the sales here, the property type seems to be almost all agricultural, industrial, and park, and a couple commercial. Is that correct? There's no residential or multifamily residential?
These were the zonings in effect at time of sale, but as I mentioned earlier, discussion of Waverly West, I've been working in that area since the first expropriation in 2008, and there was a provincial law passed to rezone the entire area. I think it passed in 2007, and the city provided funding of $212 million shortly thereafter. So anyone who had land in this area, they would be affected by the province's rezoning. And this wasn't just a lot rezoning, an administrative process. In the city of Winnipeg's development plan, these were indicated future use agricultural. So that was changed in, I think it was 2007, was Royal Assent. And everybody knew that it was being changed. And then what happened is that the developers put on a plan overlay, 6 zones, A, B, C, D, E, F, 4 controlled by Manitoba Housing, 2 controlled by LADCO. Development began on A, which is the one you can actually see in the picture. So this is the first one in. And so these were going to be part of this site. As a property in the Waverly West designated area and situated between 2 residential areas, its future zoning would be residential. And to gain that zoning, at least our research showed that it was an administrative issue. And yes, there would be development fees, of course there would be, but there would also be development fees for the subject property.
And based on the location of these sales, are there any that's really close to or within the proximity or neighborhood of the subject property?
The neighborhood?
Or within the area where the subject property is?
I think, no, not really close. The idea here is that we're appraising a principal rather than a neighborhood factor. Like, a neighborhood factor is important if you want to buy a house and you want to live in a neighborhood where either you grew up in or you like the schools. When you're looking at property like this, development property, it's, your issues become so much more different. As I mentioned earlier, you're building an apartment, you don't care the neighborhood it's in, you care about the density that's permitted, the legal rights. And which is why we're looking at the legal rights. We have very, very limited legal rights on this lot. They've already been given away to 1745 Henderson to allow its development. So if you wanted to use this property, you would have to go see if you could be granted a change in your multifamily designation. And I believe in our day and age now, that would require it to go through council. So, and then you would have to pay a dedication fee, and then you would have to worry about development costs and finding an access, and it would be limited to being joined to 1745 Henderson. So it's possesses the same difficulties as bringing to market as the ones in Waverly West.
That's all the questions I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Stenning?
I just want to go back to the sale, the 500,000 in 2013. Were you indicating that was a bulk sale or
It was
something to that
A
effect?
multi-role sale, yes. 1745 Henderson. We worked for them as well, and it was the same sale date, they were sold together.
What other properties were involved in it?
Just the two of them. The 1745 up front and then the lot at the rear.
You never mentioned the 2005 sale at 300,000.
I wasn't involved, so I don't know.
What I'm having trouble with is that you're saying the two sales, and you're saying now the property is worth 54,000.
No, I don't think you should be having trouble with it, it's.
Oh, I am.
Okay. It's a multi-role sale, they were sold together. So.
Okay, but you know what the other properties were. What value did they put on this property? Somebody has to do that.
Well, I guess for registration at land titles,
Yes.
somebody selected these numbers that the assessor has indicated. We went through this 2 years ago, and the assessor who was handling it at the time did look it up and made a recommendation below that sale because he understood, or he had checked, and nothing against Ryan here, but that assessor had checked into the
What was
sales.
his recommendation?
363,
For that property?
yes.
Okay, maybe this is, we've already covered it, but the owner of this property, is it to do with the owners of the adjacent property?
Yes, that's what I said. It's.
So the people that are adjacent to it own this land, it's not another,
That's correct.
so if they wanted to develop, they would be able to get access through their own property?
I think, yes, I think they could. The only question has to do with the building siting, and there may be some physical limitations on getting the access to it. Because if you see from the overhead photography, the boundaries are extremely close, and I have a zoomed-in picture of how close that boundary is, and it's less than 20 feet. So I think the people doing the plan approval might have an issue with it. So, and I can't say, you can't say for sure until you actually ask the question. But as of right now, there's no approval for anything. And then if you got approval, then you can deal with the physical issues. But here I have a close-up picture, if you want to see it, of the boundaries. This is actually the assessor made for us at the last hearing. And then one shows the south, and one shows the north, and it's questionable whether you can put 2 lanes in. And if you look at our picture, page 1, there's a car parked on one side. I think they'd have to make use of the back lane to get to that rear property.
Okay. So it was previously appealed? It was previously appealed?
Yes.
And you were given a figure, and you didn't accept it?
No, we did. It was,
What was the figure again that you accepted?
363,000. It had been assessed at 702,000. And although I feel the value is less, the carrying cost, because it's zoned residential, is not huge.
That's all right.
But I mean, there's always reasons why we do it, you know, we're talking about.
No, I don't want to go there if you don't mind me.
Oh, okay.
You've answered my question. One minor thing here, that you're talking about this Waverley West thermal heating.
Yeah, geothermal.
And I'm not sure why that comes into play, other than are you trying to say that they paid more for the land because of the fact that it should have gone to thermal heating, but it never did?
No, they wanted to control the land anyway within the Waverley West, and
Yeah.
The whole strip of land had a hydro line on it, on one portion of it, and some of the land was rented to Arneson's golf course, and some of the land was other uses. So the real motivation for acquiring the land was to put in the roadway, we call it a flyover off Bishop Grandin, and the extension of Kenniston through there. So that went right through the middle of this acquired land. So after it went in, then they decided to set the rest of the land aside for geothermal application because they had no access. And the point was, I was trying to make is, what do you do with land that has no access and can't be built on? And the subject is in the same boat.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I've had a late night and I can't put my words together today, so.
Okay, so you mentioned that the land behind this land, behind 1745 Henderson was required to meet density. So obviously that apartment building looked like it's been there a while. So are you saying that every time this property sells, it has to sell with this piece of land behind it because of the density requirement?
No, it doesn't have to, well, it was built in 1974, so that was before our current planning bylaw. And the current bylaw would indicate 1,200 square feet per unit, which requires 132,000 feet. But it was approved on the former zoning, and I don't have that in front of me. But when we researched this, I asked the owner, why do you buy the land? He said, well, we had to buy it as a package to meet the development agreement for zoning approval that was done in 1974. And, you know, their thinking on it is, maybe down the road, we can do something with it, and fill in that land. But I mean, I know another owner is in the same boat, just a block or two north, on a parcel without access, landlocked parcel, and they're not getting approval for these, unless they do it in conjunction with the parcel up front. Again, still requiring a zoning change. So you have to go back, revisit the 1974 plan approval, and request a change to RMFM, which reduces your density requirements, and then see if your current building, because this is going to be a new application, do you allow 1.4 parking stalls for every unit in your building? Now, if you meet those, there's probably a good chance you'll get approval, and then you have to deal with the access issue.
But likely, when this property is going up for sale, whoever's selling it is selling it as, this is a parcel, right?
Well, they're not going to be able to sell it as a development parcel. They're going to sell it as.
But when they put it on the market, they're putting the vacant land on the market.
Yes, with it. Yes, that's correct.
This area of Henderson has some issues with landlocked property all along it, does it not?
Yes,
Because I've heard some of these before.
a great deal,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
It was, you know, planned, the Henderson Highway, when it was put in, was probably surveyed in early 1900s, and at that time, everything was on river lots, and you can see that there's still the old river lot look on the big parcels, and planning at that time wasn't as well thought out.
Okay, that's all I had, thanks.
Thank you very much. All right. Can you read in? The next one is 956 Notre Dame. We'll let you leave that.
See you later.
You know,
Whenever you're ready.
Thanks, Madam Chair. The last one is a file number of 19-1252. There's a roll number of 120-302-77000. It is located at 956 Notre Dame Avenue. It has a roll year of 2020 with a reference date of April 1st, 2018. It is assessed at $229,000. There's a property, or it is a vacant residential too, with a zoning of RMFL, or residential multifamily. It has a land area of 7,529 square feet. And on page 3 is the aerial photo of the subject property. Page 4 is the land sale comparable, ranging from $37.31 up to $65.17. And on page 6 is the land rate that is used at $30.42 per square foot. And that's the evidence of presentation I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Stenning, do you?
Okay, what are we doing here? Because we have no appellant,
Yes.
That's correct.
so we have to hear it anyway.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Well, let me think. So
Absence of the appellant.
it's a,
Do we proceed? I don't. Do we
is
proceed?
it is just vacant land, right?
Yes, it is.
Obviously.
Yes, sir.
Just give me an idea, how come it's in this kind of odd shape then? So the other land around it isn't, it's only this particular piece in the black here?
No, sir. It's the entire piece from the road Notre Dame up to the back, and there's the line right here, if I may point you. It's right here, it's the back limit. and
That's the
then
back
front.
lane, but there is access
Back
to
lane.
Notre Dame on here.
There could be there could be access once they develop it, sir.
Yeah.
They could just, it's the same as 952. Their access would be more of like a walk-up access instead of road access going inside the property, or a vehicular access.
And what is your square foot? It's here, isn't it? It's $30.42?
Yes, sir.
So there was no, was there any information given to you by the tenants or the owners of any kind?
None, sir.
And to your knowledge, was it ever appealed before?
I'm not sure, I don't have that information if it was appealed before, sir. No, I don't have that.
And you haven't
information.
talked to the owner of the property or any of the assessment department, talked to anybody about the property?
No, I
prior to
wasn't able
coming in?
to reach out, no, I wasn't able to call.
That's all, that's really all I have.
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Now close the hearing.